I'm not matching profiles, I'm matching people.
How far are you willing to go to become you? I'm asked that same question every morning. The connection has been lost to each other and to ourselves. Toxicity continues to rise while self-worth continues to fall. This was created out of sheer necessity, the desire to create change and curve the culture back to connection. My journey has rerouted my idea of who I'm becoming. Connection begins within, continues outward. Love you, then love me, in that order. If I'm about to get uncomfortable, then so are you. I'm learning who I am. Now I want to get to know you. Connection over convenience.
How long have you two been working together?
I'm getting a playback. Okay, that's... What's that, Melanie?
How long have you two been doing this together?
Well, we've been... I've worked with Luke. How long have you been at Wallingford? 3.5 years. So I've been... We both work at a Buick GMC dealership. That's how I met Luke. And I've been there coming up on 7 years, and he's been there, I guess, over 3 years now. And I knew this was his interest of... He works in sales, but his interest is in digital media, social media, and just he's such a creative. And so I had him start to do some projects off the grid of what we were doing at work, and I was doing some other things at the time I reunited with a band of mine from 20 years ago.
Awesome.
So we started doing videos, and he actually documented us meeting each other again for the first time in 20 years and documented us preparing for the show. And then slowly I got him into doing stuff at the dealership for these types of things. And then about a year, I guess really this past April, I kind of started to move forward with the idea of XXO as the business. And so I said Luke was the right person to be my employee number one. He'd be my first employee. And
That's
so
awesome.
we're always together learning the stuff, as we go along. And it's definitely a lot of, we love it. It's just, we're constantly learning and messing up, and we love the journey.
Well, you work through it, and that's how you perfect it.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's the mess ups that are actually fun for the most part, because you learn, you can't get too down on them. But all right, so I think
no, that's okay.
Okay, no, everything's good. All right, so you're moving shortly. I liked how you neutralized your house.
Yes, I did. It was quite colorful when I bought this house. There was like 11 different colors in this entire house. So
what's interesting, that doesn't surprise me because you are extremely colorful. You really
I didn't paint the house that way. I bought it that way, but I lived with it for years, and I'm like, I'm ready for some change.
You've had a lot of changes, and I think it's probably only 3 or so months, if that, where I discovered you in the LinkedIn world, the LinkedIn land, and started to follow your journey. And I kind of backed into it a little bit to see, who you were. And it's a beautiful journey from the outside of watching you, and I love it. So thank you so much for everything you do every day.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been an incredible transformation. Just being, figuring myself out and sharing that publicly, I guess I would say, with the world on LinkedIn. And it's just been an incredible transformation.
You dive in deep, though. A lot of people, they dive, and they dive from 10 feet, 11 feet, 12 feet. You're diving from like 100, 200, 300 feet, and I love that. And each time, like, you get a little deeper. And so I'm so curious of the journey of how we got here. And kind of backing up is one thing that you said, I think it was this past week, it was something you said for the first time, is growing up as a child, you lived in a trailer home.
I did. And
thank you so much for sharing that, because it seemed that was something that it took you years to be able to share with all of us.
Oh, it absolutely did. I've been thinking, on a deeper level, like you had mentioned, about, what is it that I want to share and what could potentially impact people, right, with sharing. And I came to the realization that I'm like, I was talking with someone in a car ride the other day, and it dawned on me that I said that. And he said to me, I didn't know that about you. And I sat in the car for like a good 10, 15 minutes and just thought about why I haven't shared that with anyone. And then I came to the realization that I'm like, I'm ready to share this, because years and years ago, I just felt embarrassed with my upbringing. And I feel like I could write books upon books. but I've finally gotten to a place of loving who I am and loving the journey, and realizing that a lot of those experiences that I went through, honestly, they shaped who I am today. And after I shared that, I mean, just the messages that I received from people to say, I was there where you were. And I just can relate so much to how it's challenging at times to be able to share your life experiences, because society sets this whole realm of what everybody should be and look like. When in reality, we face like actual circumstances that aren't what people perceive, I guess I would say. And so I feel like I've just grown as a person to come to a place of being able to openly share those struggles that I had, but also see how they've shaped who I am.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the societies that, the old timeline, life timeline is so outdated. And everybody who has this idea of this is how it's supposed to be, they don't have a clue in their own lives. Their lives are a mess, right? But they can fake it. But we all have our own trailer stories. And so today, in this day and age, I feel it's more of you're relevant when you're able to be completely vulnerable. And the other side of the old timeline and how everything should be laid out will slowly become irrelevant. I think, as we talk about building a community of connection and vulnerability, this is what's real. We all have our trailer stories, and that's how we relate to each other. That's how we're able to kind of start to, shed the layers and actually get to know not only each other, but ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there was just a lot of digging within that I needed to do over the last year, the last 3 years, the last 5 years of really discovering. I'm like, okay, I wasn't the person that I wanted to be, and especially in controlling relationship. And I know I've shared some of that as well, but I needed to figure out who I was and break through all those layers and find that comfort level and that confidence to be able to share that openly.
So take me through. So I don't know if I have this correct, but growing up, were you one of six, or was there six kids? What was it like in the trailer with 6 kids, and what's the family dynamic? I'm so curious.
Yeah. So there were 6 kids in the household in a 3-bedroom. I always just said we were like the Brady Bunch, but we didn't actually have a nanny.
Yeah.
And so, everyone shared rooms, and that was actually growing up with a stepfather through my teenage years. I bounced households for a little bit in between like my toddler years through a little bit through elementary, as my parents had separated. And so on my dad's side, there's really 9 of us. Wow. And then on my previous stepfather's side, there was the 6 of us. That was like the Brady Bunch. So I've always had a lot of people around. And we've always had to figure out how to make it work with sharing everything.
Yeah,
basically.
In a pretty tight spot of 6 of you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, did that have a huge impact on, I guess, if you bring it to now, that must impact the way, you see things differently than many of us see things.
I definitely see things differently. And I found that even, friends or family that, I feel like I really cherish that time. My younger sister and I, she's only 2 years and 2 months and 2 weeks apart from me. And we shared a lot of things, and we even dressed the same. And I think really just what growing up in a small space with a lot of people and on a very tight budget just really taught me to embrace what I have, and not always feel like I need to have more, but also be really frugal. I am a single mom of 3, and I've had to really figure out how to make things work. And I think just growing up in that environment, it really taught me the importance of cherishing what we do have and not living outside of my means. And knowing that, there are things that we can share. We always don't need to have each of our own. And I try to teach that to my children too. It's like, not everybody needs to have this type of thing, because there are things that we can use within the household that we share. And I think that's probably one of the bigger lessons that I learned.
Being practical, right? So,
yes.
So you were growing up, you were 16 when you had your first, correct?
I was.
And you were still
I
in high
was.
school.
I was, yes.
So you had a very different experience.
I definitely had a very different experience. It was a blessing to be able to take my young son to school with me. I actually graduated when I was 17 with all my credits, and that was just an experience in itself that shaped who I am.
So then after you leave high school and you enter the financial world, we started off as a bank teller?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made a post recently that I talked about how I grew up in a household where parents fought about money all the time. And so I really felt like this was an opportunity for me, even as a young mother, to figure out what does it mean to need to budget and, just really dive into what finances are. There's a lot that comes along with that. It's not just understanding where your money goes with your paycheck. It's all about how you spend, how you give, how you save, kind of all those different things. And jumping into finance really allowed me to do that. In that, too, there's a piece of sales and building relationships. And I think it really allowed me to get a head start on my career. But it also just taught me a lot personally and how I could carry that forth from a professional setting into my everyday life.
Yeah. So now you move forward, you have your 16, 17, 18, 19, you're working in the financial world. How old is your second?
So they're 3 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had one at 16 and one at 19.
Okay. So now you have two at 19, you're starting your first job, or maybe not your first job, but you're starting your career, right?
Yes.
And you're taking care of the kids. You were going to school also. Didn't you go back to school?
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
I went back to school. I had my very first apartment at 17. I remember the conversation. I went to look at that apartment on my own before I even told my mother about it. And I'm like, I can do this. I'm working 2 jobs. I was, just finished school. And I remember the landlord saying to me, well, you're not even 18. I don't know that you're going to be able to make your rent with what you're making per hour. But your kid looks cute in the little car seat that you have. And I think that you seem to be responsible. So he gave me my first apartment.
What a blessing, huh?
It was. And, I've shared this too, that I'm in my home that I've always wanted to live in right now. And it's 5 doors down from my very first apartment that I ever had. And so I have a daily reminder every single day of what I've been able to overcome and accomplish. And it's such a great neighborhood. I walked so many times around this neighborhood, and it's just a constant reflection of I remember that first day. And I remember the first few months of even having to pay rent on my own. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, look at where I am.
That's perspective when literally almost side by side of where I started, where I am now.
Oh, absolutely. And the street signs actually intersect.
Okay.
Yes.
That is. Now, have you ever gone back to your trailer? Have you ever taken a look?
So, ironically, I haven't gone back in there, but I drove through the neighborhood. Oh my goodness. It was probably 3-4 weeks ago. And I took my kids back through there and said, this is where I was raised. And, it was neat to see what's changed because there has been more development in there since. But just to kind of, it's always good to reflect and reminisce. There were always so many good times there. I had, a couple little best friends in the neighborhood, and we actually caught up a couple weeks ago. There was a wedding in that area. And, it was neat to reflect. There's always good times that you can pull out of even really challenging situations.
Not only reflect, but I feel like this is maybe the year where you're really embracing who you are. I mean, it sounds like it's all coming out now. You've gotten to a place so deep and so comfortable with yourself that it's all starting to come out now. And what's interesting is almost like everything that comes out becomes like this staircase. We're able to where you were kind of stuck, and I'm not saying you were, but in general, somebody can be stuck. And then as you let this stuff out, it almost becomes your staircase to move forward, to move upwards. We
That's
build
exactly
we
what it
build
feels like.
on who we are.
Oh, 100%.
Or we can create a story around who we are and kind of just exist. We see that too, right? Where we use all
Yeah.
these stories about who we are as our own, I don't want to say excuses, but reasons why we can't do what we actually want to do.
Sure.
And you're doing the opposite. You're taking these stories and you're building on them to use them as leverage to move yourself forward.
I absolutely am. And embrace is a perfect word for it, because 2019 has been a year of embracing, right? All of the trials, the tribulations, everything that's turned into triumph. It really has been. And I'm just so incredibly humbled to just meet people like you. I've met so many people on LinkedIn because I'm going out of my comfort zone and I am embracing all of that. And it's been one incredible year. It absolutely has been.
Well, cheers to 2019. By the time this comes out, it'll probably be
Yes.
2020, early 2020. But cheers to this year. One thing I saw recently too was that you were a volunteer firefighter. You spent some time
Yes.
in the fire service.
I did a year and a half, and last year I actually had 3 surgeries unexpectedly. So it was a bam, 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 triple whammy. And I've taken some time off just to allow myself to heal. I've been considering a little bit of a closer department just to allow, that still that balance of fitting in the family time, and a year and a half on that department. And then I also did, it was about 7 or 8 months of schooling. And wow, I would tell anyone that if you want to talk about transformation, that's transformation. And it's not just transforming, just giving back to people, but confidence and strength, agility, ability, just all of those things that just took me to a whole new level. I actually was standing on a ladder one day outside my house hanging Christmas lights. And this was years ago. And I heard the fire trucks going out. And I'm like, I just had this moment of like, okay, here I am on a ladder hanging Christmas lights. I love the ability to give back. I love physical fitness. I'm like, this all ties together in a way of being able to do that. And so I took a leap of faith, and my sister actually joined with me, and her and I completed fire school together, which was really incredible.
That is incredible, and it's close to my heart because I spent 6 years in a volunteer department, and then 4 years full time with an EMS company. So I put in 10 years in EMS. So it's something really close to my heart. And
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. I love watching. I saw the videos. I wanted to see. You showed you behind the scenes of you, during the practicals, during the training, and that was really. I will show a couple clips in this. We'll add that, Luke, to the video. But yeah, I love watching that. So thank you. That was.
Yeah, it was. I just. Monday night drills, that was just something that I really look forward to getting back to it. I'm finally getting to a place where I feel completely healed. Not only healed from the surgery, but just, I took a lot of time to even just dive in deeper to who I am. Because a lot of times, we can be go, 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 go. But then we don't necessarily take all the time that we need. And that's what ended up required me to have a 3rd surgery, is that I went back a little too early. And then, of course, the weight that you carry and you're constantly going, that, I didn't allow myself to fully heal. So I learned a lesson there. And I've had to also learn patience too. It's so easy to want to jump back into things, but you think you feel well on the outside, but inside you're not fully there.
Something that was very interesting, and with that is that I saw you like to have time on your own. You need time on your own, probably to recharge, to reset. And probably, back growing up, you didn't have any time on your own. There was a small area with people everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Is this something new that you realize that I'm Melanie and I need some time on my own to be Melanie? Or is this something that you've worked on for years?
It really was the last couple of years. It took years and years in the making. And that's where I say 2019 really was that opportunity for me to really dive into self-care. I was in a marriage for over 12 years, and throughout that 12 years, I still handled it all pretty much on my own. And so after I went through, divorce and, that stage of like rediscovering who I am, I really honed in on what I was missing. And what I was missing was Melanie time. You know, it's really easy for parents to just get so caught up in like needing to do every single thing. And especially when you're single and on your own, you're going to have that feeling all the time. And so I've really just started honestly setting boundaries at home over the last couple of years, because it's easy for your kids to say, Mom, I need this, I need more, I need that, I want to go here, I want to go there. And I would always want to give in. And it really, you know, got me to a place of just pure exhaustion. I mean, I have 3 kids that are in sports almost every single day. And, you know, I really had to take a step back and say, okay, I am a great mom and I want to do as much as possible, but I can't forget about me.
Not at the expense of losing yourself.
Exactly, because you can't be your best self if you can't give yourself your own time. And so, I mean, I've had to jeopardize, you know, missing practices, and I've missed 1 game out of 3 because I do need to still allow myself that time. And, you know, it really just took years of self-discovery. I read a lot of, you know, self-help books, followed a lot of motivational speakers, and just realized that in order for me to be able to be the best Melanie, I have to have that self-care in there too.
Yeah. Well, the key word is Melanie. You know, I've had this, I've spoke a lot about this. Almost like every podcast I'm saying the same thing, is that, you know, in a relationship, whether it's with your kids or whether it's, you know, with your partner, there has to be 3 relationships. I call it a threesome, but it has to be 3 relationships. The one with yourself, you know, your partner or your kids with themselves, and then the 2 of you together. And you know, I've had in my past relationships of attachment issues, of codependency, until I've kind of gone through my journey of realizing I don't want to lose myself again in another relationship. I need to continue the relationship with myself, you know, and then come together. And it's that much more of, you know, of a beautiful place to be once you still have yourself and you're not losing yourself completely. And I think it applies not just to relationships, but to kids as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what really struck me when I was reading your profile about, you know, finding yourself inward and then putting that outward. And then,
Yes.
you know, you loving yourself before you love, you know, and then love next, right? I think it's just so important. And that's just really something that I've really invested in, is figuring out who I am before I want to start attaching and, you know, again, because of just past experiences.
Yeah. I feel you're at a great place now.
I definitely feel like I am in a great place. I appreciate that.
I can't wait to see what 2020 brings you. It brings all of us, because it brings us all joy every day. I love you have this energy about you. This certain energy, and the funny thing was when we you know, for anybody who's listening, we discussed what we're going to wear today, and it's become almost accidentally became a thing of we'd always wear the same color shirts. So when I asked Melanie what she's going to wear today, she said leopard print or leopard skin print. And I said, oh boy. And I actually was drinking coffee when I read it. I almost spit my coffee out. It was hilarious. And I said, oh, how am I going to find this? And I went to the store last night and I searched and I came up short. I couldn't quite find anything. And before we talked today, I said, you know what, I might not wear, and we actually had a last minute change. We both went with the red and black. But the thing was, if I couldn't find the leopard print, I said, you know what, the one thing I'm going to wear is I'm going to wear a smile, because Melanie's always wearing a smile. And so that's the one thing that I want to wear. You know, it's genuine. She's always smiling. And I love that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's contagious.
You know, thank you. I laughed when I sent that message back about leopard, and I said, oh goodness. I was like, but then when you had said you possibly had leopard, I said, maybe we're going to run with this. We could possibly run with this.
And I found something with a little on it, and then we had the last minute wardrobe change. But I went and bought something. So I prepared myself.
Okay.
But I like the idea of just being able to wear the smile, because it doesn't get better than that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think smiling and laughter and just, you know, I think it's very contagious. And actually something for 2020 that I'm super excited about is launching Hustle Happiness. So it's more to come.
Oh, is that a teaser?
It is a teaser.
Thank you. Is this a debut, a first that you're telling us all this?
No, I've put a little nuggets out there on LinkedIn, but when you had mentioned smiling and smiling being contagious, it just had me thinking about that, right? About happiness a little bit more.
One thing you're big on is just showing up every day. You know, I feel like we're born into the day. Every day we have a new opportunity, but we need to show up, and not just physically, but mentally show up. Can you kind of tell me a little bit how you came up with that?
Yeah, it does stem back to my childhood where, I grew up where I felt like I had a father that wasn't present. And, being a single mom and raising a kid on my own, who's now almost 20, which is incredible. He's almost 6'2", and he just towers over me. But show up became so near and dear to me as a mom because I needed to be that person who was going to show up for my kids when their grandfather didn't show up and my father didn't show up and their father didn't show up. And so it just really has, made me think that I want to be that person who is that prime example for my children and spread messages of how important it is for people to just show up every single day. And so the way that I embrace that is by being present and certainly trying to be present and in the moment and not just here, but in it with them and really having conversations with them and just wanting to, be that prime example and know that I'm there to support them because I didn't see that growing up. And so showing up, it's just so important to me to be that person that actually takes that initiative and that step forward. And I see how important it is for them. And it's just one thing that I want them to fully embrace, the family time and being around each other. And I jokingly said to my son, I said, you need to marry into a really big family, because showing up is really important to me.
Yeah, my first guest I had on, Lydia McLean, and something that stuck in my head she said was, I can't show up for my partner if I don't show up for myself. And it's so true. It really is.
Oh, absolutely. I completely would agree with that saying wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I appreciate you showing up for me today. This is so exciting. I was so excited for this, and I still am. And I'm going to be excited after we get off the phone. But I've seen you on the LinkedIn, I think, top 20 up-and-comers for 2020. I believe I saw that. I saw a lot of things, and I was so excited. And, when you said yes, and I know you have 3 kids, and you have your own life, and you have a million things going on. So I'm just so appreciative of you, saying yes and taking the time to just have a chat, have a real conversation off of LinkedIn and talk more about life and where we are right now. It means a lot to me, so thank you.
I am so, yes, you are so welcome. I really enjoy these opportunities to be able to just really have a conversation where nothing has to feel scripted, right? We are sharing our authenticity together right here. And, I think what you're doing too, with what you're offering here on your podcast is going to impact so many people as well. So I'm excited to see how this evolves for you and Luke as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For me, I just want to curve the culture back to connection and we've lost connection, and through all of the channels, the platforms, it's very digital and superficial and we can show who we want to show. But there's not real connection. And just like I've seen you take everything offline and actually get to know people and meet people through the LinkedIn locals and just sharing yourself, which is true connection. And so I love how I want the world, anybody who doesn't know you, to be able to see you and to hopefully they're inspired and motivated and start to transform themselves to a closer version of, who they are and be more comfortable with themselves. I wish I was closer. I'm gonna have to get up to, you're in Wisconsin or that area, right?
Yes. It's a little chilly here right now, but it's a beautiful sunny day.
but something I saw recently was you are going to start to travel a little bit into other areas to pop in and say hello.
I am. I'm really excited for that. A couple weeks we'll be headed out to Texas. I have a friend in Madison that's going to be coming with, and we're excited to meet up with people out there. And then I also am doing a mission trip in a couple weeks after that. So I'm excited to kind of jump into LinkedIn and see who's out in that area. I think that's one of the great features about LinkedIn is that you can, find where your connections are at, and you can take it from an online relationship offline. And so I've really been diving into that this year and really, taking every opportunity that I can to really get to know people more than just being online.
Where you go? Where's the mission?
I'll be in New Orleans for that mission trip.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was scheduled to be in Haiti, and unfortunately flights have been canceled. And so we had to restructure what we're doing. But nonetheless, it's going to be a great experience.
That sounds great. I support you in everything you do. And I look forward to learning more about your journey and hopefully being a part of it. And one of these days I'll get the chance to meet you like in person.
Yeah.
Closer
that would be fantastic.
There's a screen that separates us right now, but hopefully I can get closer and say hello. So 2020 is a big year for you.
It will be. I'm looking ahead in a positive way and already taking some action this month and saying, you know what, there are some goals that I started putting on paper in 2019, and I've dabbled into them a little bit, but I haven't done much more. And so I took it upon myself just last week, actually, and I said 2020 is going to be an incredible year. It's not going to be the year, because I want every year to be an incredible year, but it's going to be the year that I'm going to take action in some of those goals that I didn't, fully finalize. And so I'm excited. Last week I created an LLC, and I'm like, you know what? This is that next step. That's that next step for me.
It is. So there's not the year. It's just you're building upon yourself, and it's all part of the journey. It just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? The older we get, it gets better and better. It's true.
Oh, it does. And I think the older that we do get, the more and more that we appreciate and value our time and the people around us and all of that.
There was a beautiful moment, and actually I think the video you had has 500,000 views or something ridiculous. It was the one where you were coming out of the water.
Yes.
What was that like? Like what was going through your head? What were you thinking just prior to, and then you go into the water and you come back out? It was a beautiful moment.
Thank you. It was, it's definitely a moment that I will cherish forever. And I received a certificate in the mail the other day for my baptism. And it had, I believe it was a little over 150,000 views. And the comments, just the comments and the engagement were just incredible. It was so moving for myself to just experience that. And I knew I took a risk. I took a risk in saying, this is what I'm feeling. I'm going to go ahead and share this. And it was just such a profound moment. And so, I came out just feeling so renewed, and I've been waiting for that moment as I've been going through this journey of self-discovering who I am. And it was in that moment that I came up that I was like, I'm a new person, right? I just felt like a completely new person. Like all of the stresses, the worries, and everything that I had in the past, like everything just was completely gone. And it just had me reflecting on everything that I went through over the last couple of years, relationship-wise, personal, professional, that I am a brand new person, and this was the moment for me to acknowledge that I have overcome all of those things. And it was just truly, truly incredible. It was.
What's interesting is that, you say it was a risk, and I could see how it's a risk of putting something like that out there. It's, very personal, also, against the grain of what people post on, at least on LinkedIn. And then you go back to talking about your past of growing up in the trailer. And so I don't believe in, how it's supposed to be. And I believe, you do it your way, and I've always lived against the grain. That's just, I don't do it to try to be different. It's just, I see things different, and I'm not going to do it how they are. I'm going to do them how I see, how I like to do them. And so it just keeps showing, like you keep shining. Every time you show more of who Melanie is, people love seeing that. And, so it was a risk. It was, between, you dived into many different things, literally, but many different things during that moment. And it just shows that you just keep showing up and showing us who you are, and do it for yourself. And we love you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. And I think, yeah, with that share too, it was all about, this is how I've gone outside of my comfort zone, right? It wasn't about the message. It was about the growth.
Yeah.
And that was that moment of sharing growth. And, I think that it's easy for us to want to pick and choose what we share on LinkedIn because we're so concerned about what other people are going to think. And years and years ago, I was like that. I only posted about my business or what I was doing in the community, and I didn't share who I was. And it actually was about 3.5 years ago when a friend said to me, Melanie, you're great at what you do. You post on LinkedIn all the time about the organization that you work for and what you're doing in the community. But who are you as a person? And that actually woke me up. And I completely made like a 360 spiral of like, oh my goodness, this was an aha moment of like, I need to share who I am. And then of course it's evolved through that. But I think there is that going outside of your comfort zone and willing to be vulnerable in sharing. Everybody has a wealth of knowledge. And it's going to be different knowledge for everyone. Like I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh, you've got this new podcast. I would love to learn the technical aspect about it. There's just so much that can be shared. When we can be our complete selves, that's when it becomes relatable for others.
That's what it is. We're in a relatable world. It's the reality TV today it's reality. It's trying to make I call it connection over convenience. And that's everything in this world. We live in a convenience world today, but not everything can be, convenience. I mean, relationships, it's not about convenience. And, so connection over convenience, and this is real connection of diving in. And this is where we start showing who we are. So thank you.
And I absolutely love that connection over convenience. And I thought about even a couple years ago when I attempted to do some online dating, and I'm like, we are in a digital world, like you're saying it is, and it is an absolute challenge. It was to the point where I just said, forget it. I took a step back and saying it really is about just getting to know people, offline, and building that relationship. Yes, there are success stories that are shared with online, but in experiences that I've had personally and friends, it really is important to take it offline to build that connection.
Sure. I'm curious. I'm going to dive into this a little bit. Because XXO also, it's an offline matchmaking company which will launch in January. And the reason it came about was through my struggles with online dating for years and seeing what it was all about. So I'm really curious to see, your stories of what did you find is a challenge with online dating, and putting in perspective, when I say going against the grain, I'm going against the grain of it's a $3 billion with a B $1 billion a year industry, and only 20% of people actually start a relationship online, which tells what is going on. There's so many people who are struggling through it. What were your struggles with the online dating?
I think some of the struggles were the time investment with the traveling, right? So meeting up, I guess I would say. And the big struggle was just the genuine connection. You can certainly have conversation over a text message to the point where it feels like a pen pal. But then you don't necessarily have that genuine connection that I feel when I do LinkedIn local events and I'm meeting with people in person. So I definitely did find that to be a challenge. Hard to be. It's hard to explain a little bit, but I'm a busy person, right? And so busy person, busy mom. It was really hard for me to find people that could relate to that without expectations of like needing to be available all the time, which is just unrealistic for me. And so it definitely was a challenge.
Yeah. How long were you online for?
Only for about 3 months.
Okay.
3 months.
And
so
that was
and
plenty.
that's been years.
That was enough.
Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't one fun fact about me is that I don't have notifications on my phone. I really try to embrace living in the moment and being present and catching up. I mean, this is the same thing for LinkedIn. I don't have anything on my phone that pings when I get a LinkedIn notification. I just really go in on my time. And that was one of those things. It's like,
that's boundaries.
I would say part of it was probably on, what was that?
That's boundaries. You're creating boundaries.
It is boundaries. Yeah. And so I would think that, part of it was me not being available all the time and not checking my phone 24/7 or not checking every single app on my phone every day. And so we already do a lot online. And so to add more into what we do digitally was just exhausting for me.
Well, welcome to offline. Welcome to being grounded, feeling the ground on, on your feet. And this is fun. I appreciate you joining me today and discussing, opening up a little bit.
Yes. You are so welcome. No, I appreciate you inviting me and having a conversation.
A real conversation. Imagine that. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. I know you have a lot going on today. A lot of activities with the kids for Christmas.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes. Yes, I'm excited. I have the day off. I actually have a whole day of me time today. So I thought the kids had a half day and they don't. And I'm like, oh, great. This is me having some time to finalize some things before the holiday.
Well, thank you for giving me a little bit of your time today. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
Yes, you are welcome. Well, happy holidays.
You as well. And I'll talk to you soon. And thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to put out there for people to follow you?
I would just say I could be found on LinkedIn. I really appreciate those that, do follow and connect and also reach out. And so, I'm always looking to connect with like-minded people, the motivators, the go-getters, the inspirers. And so if you're one of them, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn as well.
We'll include the feed. We'll put your LinkedIn profile in so people can find you. Enjoy your day.
Great.
Good talking to you, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Likewise.
Bye,
Thank
Melanie.
you.
Bye.
Bye.